Yes, I have never seen where people celebrate. The View had to celebrate.
Word has just come down that Fox News Media and Tucker Carlson have agreed to part ways. Wave. You know, we'll talk more about it tomorrow but we wanted to make sure that we let you know what was going on.
Well, can I ask the audience if they'll help me do something? Come on, folks. Na 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 na. Hey hey hey. Goodbye. Na 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 na. I mean, sayonara.
I don't understand. Is it that they are scared of Tucker Carlson, or what is exactly? If Tucker Carlson was just an ordinary person, you will not even hear this. They will not even talk about that. It is to tell you the vital role he has played.
It might be time to start to reassess the terms we use to describe what we're watching. So when I started at Heritage, the presumption was, and this is a very Anglo-American assumption, that the debates we're having are kind of rational debates about the way to get to mutually agreed upon outcomes. Right? So like we all want the country to be more prosperous and free and people to be less oppressed or whatever. And so we're going to argue about tax rates, and I think higher tax gets us there. I'm like Keynesian, and you disagree, you're an Austrian or whatever.
I don't know if you have seen this. Tucker Carlson leaves Fox News 5 days after network paid $787 million to settle Dominion lawsuit. Tucker Carlson is out of Fox News after ringing over the network for nearly a decade. In a shock announcement Monday, the network announced his departure, saying his final show was on April 21st. Fox News Media and Tucker Carlson have agreed to part ways. We thank him for his service to the network as a host. I'm proud to that as a contributor. Mr. Carlson's last program was Friday, April 21st. The network statement read. An interim roster of hosts will take over in his absence until a permanent replacement is chosen. His departure comes days after Fox News settled with Dominion, which had sued for defamation, claiming hosts like Tucker Carlson knew President Trump. You all know that.
I don't think anyone could defend that as a positive outcome. But the weight of the government and a lot of corporate interests are behind that. Well, what is that? Well, it's irrational. If you say, well, I think abortion is always bad. Well, I think sometimes it's necessary. That's a debate I'm familiar with. But if you're telling me that abortion is a positive good, what are you saying? Well, you're arguing for child sacrifice, obviously. It's not about a teen girl gets pregnant and what do we do about that, and get it. Of course I understand that, and I have compassion for everyone involved. But when the Treasury Secretary stands up and says, you know what you can do to help the economy, get an abortion. Well, that's like an Aztec principle, actually. There's not a society in history that didn't practice human sacrifice. Not one. I checked. Even the Scandinavians, I'm ashamed to say. It wasn't just the Mesoamericans, it was everybody. So, that's what that is. What's the point of child sacrifice? Well, there's no policy goal entwined with that. No, that's a theological phenomenon. And that's kind of the point I'm making. None of this makes sense in conventional political terms. When people or crowds of people, or the largest crowd of people at all, which is the federal government, the largest human organization in human history, decide that the goal is to destroy things, destruction for its own sake. Hey, let's tear it down.
Yes, I saw this coming. Immediately they settled this lawsuit. I knew some shake-up is coming on Fox News, and we are already seeing this. This might not only be, this is not the only person that is being shaken up. We might see another person. Something like this would happen. Tucker Carlson has been a target. Libras calling that he should be cut off air We recently saw the clip with AIC, with Jen Psaki. AIC made it clear that Tucker Carlson, I think it's just yesterday that this happened. And just few hours, we are already seeing it. She'll be happy, to realize what she said on air a few hours ago has happened. I know Libras will celebrate. Tucker Carlson has been on Fox News for some time, and to be truthful, he's leading in that group because I don't really see a lot of people watching programs on Fox News, even not Tucker Carlson. He has been handling a lot of topics, and Libras are not extremely happy with that. We also the January 6th footage.
And do you think media organizations or social media platforms should be accountable for the role for being platforms for incitement?
I believe that when it comes to broadcast television like Fox News, these are subject to federal law, federal regulation in terms of what's allowed on air and what isn't. And when you look at what Tucker Carlson and some of these other folks on Fox do, it is very, very clearly incitement of violence. Very clearly incitement of violence. And I think we have.
Yes, this is not the first time AIC is going off on Tucker Carlson. We have seen even exchange on Twitter, and it actually relates to a lot of things. Lips of TikTok, Tucker Carlson calling her on his show and all that. So when I saw this clip with AIC making sure to condemn Tucker Carlson, it was just something I just decided to ignore until this happened. Now, when I look at this article published by the Daily Mail, I'm struggling to figure out what exactly has actually happened. What they are struggling to point out here, his departure comes days after Fox News settled with Dominion System, which had sued for defamation, claiming hosts like Tucker Carlson knew President Trump claims. You all know what happened. Dominion sued for 1.6 billion and settled for 787 million at the 11th hour, narrowly avoiding an embarrassing and highly publicized trial where Carlson and other hosts would likely have been called as witnesses. Among discoveries submitted before the trial were text messages in which Carlson described his passionate hatred for Trump. Carlson's show, Tucker Carlson Tonight, was the highest show on Fox News, getting about 3.5 million viewers every night, but a series of recent controversies, including the Dominion claims and his own comment about the January 6th, lead him into a hotter water than even he was used to.